Alright, auxiliary view practice number 1. So we're going to start out with this first problem. And the first thing we want to do is we're going to project our heights all the way over here. What you're dealing with the auxiliary view is you have your top, your frontal plane, your top, your horizontal plane, you have your front or your frontal plane, and then over here we typically have your right side view. Well, in this particular case, we're going to have to do an auxiliary view because we need to find out what the actual size of these are based on that angle. So we have a different angle. So dealing with this one, we have a fold line. That fold line is that little like double center line that you'll see here. And I've given you the fold line for the first couple of drawings to help you get going. So the first thing I'm going to do with this one is I need to bring all those lines over. To do that, I need to line up that line with my straight edge. And I would use the drafting tape, but somebody has stolen mine, so I've got to get another new roll. So I'm going to continue to use the clear tape just for right now. Normally you tape it down in each corner so it doesn't move around and get top and bottom. I'm going to do this right here in the center for right now because I'm just doing the quick. All I'm going to do is keep it here long enough to be able to project each of those points over because I'm fixing to move the paper. Okay. So all it is project them over. Now what you can do if you would like, it's been done, I don't prefer to do it because it makes it a little harder. You can take any triangle you have and line it up with that angle of your fold line, which is the angle that lines up with the one on here. So I can line it up, then take a different triangle, and I can use it that way so that I can draw my perfectly perpendicular lines from here, 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 so forth. So you could do that if you wanted to. I find it a more effective use of time to reposition the paper underneath my straight edge. So I'm lining it up with that fold line here. And now I am going to go ahead and tape it down in each one of the corners. I really don't want it shifting on me. Okay. Now, I'm going to take any of the triangles, doesn't matter which one, line it up, and project that up.
Top 2 items or?
Now, there are a couple of different ways that you could find and transfer over your depth. So we can take the divider, put the divider here at the corner of where your fold line meets here to the edge where it starts, and then I can come over here and transfer that here. And then I can draw a line straight down, and then I can come over here, find the depth of the object, transfer it over to that line, and draw it down. So there's always a couple different ways. In this particular one, you can also use your divider. You can take that divider there it goes. So we can take that divider, line it up here, get it to the edge of that point right here, transfer it over. There it goes. And that one looks like it's a little off actually, so I'm going to bring it down a little bit more. Yeah, there it goes. So I bring it to there. I just drew all those over, and I would always just double check to make sure, because I know that's how the size, so when I measure it over here they should line up, and they do, so we know that they line up. Okay, our next step is we need to know, okay, so here's all our auxiliary view, so we have our true length and size of this line. What do we see? And we're looking at the profile plane or right side view, auxiliary view in this particular case, because we've had to draw it up. What do we see? If I'm standing here looking at the object, I know I'm going to see like the rectangle for that shape here. I'm gonna see another rectangle here, a bigger rectangle, a smaller rectangle. So I'm gonna get my darker lead.
Yeah, I'm about to go back out there. I'll put it on the
Just kind of go all the way up. And then because I lined it up with my straight edge, and I went a little off there in that corner, so I'm going to have to get my eraser shield and fix that here in a second. So now we have our view. The next thing we want to do is we want to do a basic dimension on it, and this is where those lines come in and help and handy for you to use. Let's go back. So I would actually measure it. So I'm going to actually take an engineering scale, more than likely, it'll be the easiest one. We're going to use that plain old 10 1-to-1, and let's measure and see what those measurements are. So in this particular case, when I'm looking at it, the distance from here to here, overall distance is 2.1. And then I'll look at, okay, well, what's my distance for the other little parts? What are they? How do I find those? Where do they go from? So it's a little, just an example here to show you some. So this is my true length, my actual size of the object. So this one is 0.25, right? And then this one is 1.4. 3, and so forth. So let's go ahead and just do some quick measurements real quick, just so we can look here, so we can do a little comparison. All right, I'm gonna untape it and pull it up and do the measurements there so you can see a little bit, hopefully. Oops, toward the corner, uh-oh. Okay, so we know over here, this is our profile plane. It's also our auxiliary view. So it's auxiliary view. And we want to actually measure and see what these are. So I want to find out what's the dimension for this part here. So again, I'll look at it and it's 0.25. Now let's measure it here. 1, 2, 3, 4. This part here is. Notice how I'm keeping all of my heights to about the same size, that 1/8 of an inch. If you can't do that freehand by drawing this, you need to draw the lightly construction lines, the little lines to keep your text together. Okay, this part right here is 0.25 also. So if you can keep your dimensions uniform and that same size on your own, great. If you can't, remember, draw those little construction lines to help you. And then this one here is right at 0.2. And here's the problem, it won't actually fit on the inside of it, so I'm going to have to put it to the outside here. Actually, I might be able to just, yeah, I can just barely fit in there. So because those arrows tell us about the dimension. There's a slight gap here. If you cannot draw straight lines like I can, for the love of God, use your triangles to help you. Okay, and then our overall is 2.1. So the overall, let's see, even I got off on that one. Remember, they should all be the same. 1/8 of an inch. should not come to there. There it goes, that's better. So when I'm doing my true size here on the auxiliary, my true length I see here. Actually, I think it was 2.1, so. Now, I want to come over here and measure now, because this is where you're going to start to see why it is important to do auxiliary views. So take that same scale, and I'm going to measure, just if I was dimensioning this. Okay, well, when I dimension it in that front view here, it's only showing up as 2. Oh, no, that one is 2. This one is, there it is. This one's a little, come here, you. So if I measure it here, see, it shows it as 0.2. When over here, we know it's 0.25. Same thing with here. If we go straight up, it shows it as 1.2. We know it's 1.4, and so forth. So this is the reason why you dimension the auxiliary views. We have to draw them and we have to dimension in different places, because that's obviously not the actual true size of the object over here when we turn it on its edge. And then we would also need to dimension, if we were doing it, we would dimension different areas, but we'll practice more dimensioning later. The only other thing you need to make sure that you do is come down here to the bottom and fill out the title block like we've done on the others, and then use your 0.9 to make your border really dark. All right, good luck. Next, we're going to go into the next one.